This is Straight No Chaser Talk Radio. We're just getting started. Straight No Chaser Talk Radio.
He's drinking that with no chaser.
This is Straight No Chaser Talk Radio. We're just getting started. Straight No Chaser Talk Radio.
He's drinking that with no chaser.
Hello, people. Welcome, good people. Straight No Chaser, where we give it to you straight. We only serve the hard stuff. We don't play around. And there's some hard stuff going on right now. I got the chief with us.
Yes, sir.
And I always save the best for last, Shannon. That's one of three times we have to play it.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Glad to be here, seeing everyone.
I know y'all glad you all are all on the West Coast because there's some craziness going on the East Coast, even a little north of me, near my hometown of Baltimore in Washington, D.C. Unless you are under a rock, you have to have seen what's been going on. It's crazy. I can't think of another word. It's crazy. And I also can't sit around and look at it without thinking about, man, really? You get to tear up the people's house. and then when it's Black Lives Matter or something else, you got tanks, you got, parachuting folks in, you got everybody got riot gear on. I mean, they was some of the police I saw over there earlier looked like they were escorting folks out like it was a tour. Come on, see the way. Come on, check us out. Craziness. In the midst of the craziness, in all seriousness, somebody was killed. Unfortunately, you hate to see anybody lose their life. Don't know what the circumstances were, but it was around all of this foolishness that is going on. On the one hand, last night you had a first time black Democratic senator was elected from the state of Georgia. And that was something. Every time you have something positive, it seems that something crazy comes up and overshadows it or pushes it back, or, man can't even enjoy his day because of all of this craziness. So now they're, I guess, somewhat settled down. But Chief,
sir.
On the one hand, you got you with a background in policing.
Yes, sir.
You got me with a background in politics, which this ain't got, well, it does have to do with politics, but not with the antics that were going on. But this is craziness. I mean, this is all born out of in the field of politics. This is crazy. These people think they are real, sure enough, patriots doing ridiculous stuff like they're Paul Revere or something. I don't know what they're thinking. But, from a police standpoint, I mean, how did they start this thing? Did they start it right, wrong? I mean, what do you think, Chief? I mean, clearly it was wrong, but I mean, how should they have entered into this? I mean, they knew this was coming. They had to know this was coming. I mean, it was telegraphed for about the last 4 years.
Sure.
It's been a buildup.
Oh, yeah. Well, and of course, that's one of the things that people have been saying. I've been watching all the networks today, MSNBC, CNN, Fox, and everyone is kind of wondering about the police response, particularly inside of the Capitol building. I know MSNBC was showing some excerpts earlier today with about a crowd of people coming up one of the steps in the Capitol, and one of the officers trying to fend them off. And then you had the various protective details that had their guns pointed at the door of the House chamber. And then ultimately you saw folks were able to breach the security of the Capitol building. And there was actually a couple of folks that are actually sitting in the seat of the House Speaker. Right. So I'm sure that after all of this has calmed down, they will be looking at this from a forensic perspective, just to see what happened with all the X's and O's. But certainly something didn't go right. And I think we're safe to say that, because I can tell you from visiting the Capitol on official business that even when I was on the list and I was going to some meetings with some of our local representatives from Maryland and, in my official capacity, and even in uniform with my name on a list, you still had to go through, a couple layers of security to get in the place. So, I'm definitely interested to know how things were able to deteriorate in such a harmful fashion, because the news is reporting that there was also a loss of life as a result of this. Don't know the circumstances, but no matter how you slice this was a tragedy on all ends. No matter what your opinion was on the election, whether you believed it was rigged, not rigged, all the votes were counted, not counted. At the end of the day, the Capitol represents the U.S. of A. Period. You have icons, the White House, the Capitol, the Washington Monument. And, when you see stuff like that was just a very, very disheartening thing to see. And it was completely unnecessary.
Right. Shannon, you've been playing catch up. You've been watching it. Came in, she was watching it, had the feed going. I thought you were in.
I've been playing catch up. I've been caught up all day. I had a funeral today, but
sorry to hear that.
Yeah, this is very serious coming from what I just came from, and to walk into this is like, okay, this what we doing?
Right. On a Wednesday. We had something else that we were going to talk about today. We had another, but it was hard to kind of get it. How could you not talk about this? In the midst of what's going on and all of this craziness. But actually there may be a way to dovetail into to kind of combine the two with what we were going to talk about, specific to, we were looking at, mental health with regards to Black men. But, we might be able to just do mental health.
How about that? Exactly.
Folks, just worldwide mental health, period.
That's right.
What's wrong with these folks? I mean,
wait, you guys, before we get started, can I get everybody that's watching us now to share with your Facebook page? Just please share our live screen for us, please.
Thank you. Yes, we forgot to make that announcement.
But Chief, tell us who we got with us. Who we got with us is going to help us join us in the discussion.
Well, it's certainly a pleasure this evening to help us to discuss this very serious issue, because obviously there's a whole lot of disgust and hurt going on in America when you have this type of situation to unfold on national television. And so we have with us this evening Mr. Leonard Means, who is the head of the Association of Black Psychologists in the city of Las Vegas. And so we're just very happy to have
need him. Yeah,
we are certainly happy to have you with us this evening, Leonard. And thank you so much for being here. And as Thinbad alluded to when we opened up the show, it was just total chaos in DC for a while today, and I don't think they have relinquished the scene yet. The House and the Senate are back in doing what they do, but for a few hours today, it was just total pandemonium, and it all gets back to the thing that a lot of people were under the assumption that the election has been rigged and all those types of things. And so I ask you, Leonard, what is it that makes people just become so emboldened that they would take action like this? How does this kind of stuff go down?
Well, thanks for having me. Just like to say Happy New Year to all.
Happy New Year.
The word that comes to mind is entitlement. And to that extent, we are actually seeing some of that entitlement on our TVs today. People think, especially this group of people, think that this is their country and that they have every right to do what they did today And I think that also we need to look at the top. When we start talking about mental health concerns, I think that we need to start at the top with some of the issues that our current president may have and has been displaying. Certainly, we think that there might be some mental health issues, those of us in the field. Entitlement starts with him and has gone down to his minions and to the people who support him, the 75 million people who support him. So I suspect that what we saw today was a display of that.
That's the deal. I mean, you know, for me, I've been saying, you know, all along, and maybe before now, but Trump, and I think Dave Chappelle said it best, you know, Trump initially, you know, it was easy to say that Trump himself wasn't the issue. It's all those followers. He's like just singing their greatest hits and they are dancing to the beat. And he's just singing the greatest hits, you know, racism, privilege, entitlement, no immigration. He's singing all their favorite songs. And he's been singing them for 4 years. And it's like, here we come up to the big concert. And it's just like, what, you know, I mean, you know, it's there. I mean, we know that it's there. We know that it's been there. We've learned, you know, however painful the lessons that we've had to learn to how to maneuver, how to code switch, how to go along to get along, how to do what we have to do. And then it got the nerve that they upset. I was looking at something on Fox News just to see what are they saying. And damn if it didn't sound like he said, you know, sometimes this is what happens when people are unheard. And you can understand that talk. You get it, but it's not you. But now that you is an issue, but you don't understand Black Lives Matter. Or, you know, when Black Lives Matter happened, you have to, you know, batten down the hatches. I mean, no matter what, you come in and bring in the tanks. But here it's because you're not understood. You know, you're not understood. I'm like, come on. And
some of this reminds me of Jim Jones and the people who drank the Kool-Aid and David Koresh and those kinds of folks is I think we're seeing some of that as part of the phenomenon today with President Trump acting in that role. And it's sad, and I understand. And we talked initially about this being a nice dovetail into the topic that we're going to speak on tonight. But I think that you're right. I think that the whole country has been damaged by this presidency, and to that extent, I think we all need some kind of mental health help.
I think regardless of what side you're on, you know, this has an effect. You know, people who are around this stuff and see it, there's trauma too. Even those who aren't participating, those who are, you know, there are some folks I'm sure who are really in disbelief and really probably chose not to understand some things or chose not to see, but now it's right in your face and they're like, what's happening? What's happening to our country? You know, how do you explain this to kids? How do you not have this spill over into, in some ways, I'm glad schools are closed. I mean, that the kids aren't there because this would spill over into schools. This would spill over into, I'm sure it's all over in social media, you know, back and forth. You know, I'm hearing, I don't know, did they shut down his Twitter feed? Because that was keeping things going. They shut down the president's, 45's Twitter feed. But it's just, I don't know, it's unbelievable. But, you know, he could not have done this all by himself. He had, you know, help along the way, whether people want to admit it or not, those who turn their heads, those who turn a blind eye, those in power in the legislature, in the Congress, who just kind of went along with it because it served their purpose. All for, you know, some power and you know, just willing to tear up anything and everything. I don't know. I don't know. You know, it's just, it's still playing out. So it's kind of hard to and I think it's going to go on for a few days. We're going to be dealing with probably a few weeks. Is it going to
few years?